Morning everyone, and welcome back to another update of allotment days. It's Saturday the 15th of July and it wasn't a very nice start to the day. It was raining lightly but persistently. Ground was very wet, and you get up on a Saturday morning with good intentions and you think, oh no, it's raining, I can't really do very much, it's not worth it. But actually, if you make your way down to the plot and you get stuck in, you find there's actually quite a lot to do. I've been in all three greenhouses this morning and I've tied in the tomatoes and cucumbers and inca berries, done a little bit of side shooting, picked a few tomatoes, not very many just yet, but I've got my first red one there. That's a Sakura. It could have been left on a little bit longer, but I just couldn't resist the temptation of taking that one off. I've taken a couple of onions. I've taken a red onion and one of the caravel pink onions, a couple of kohlrabi, the first greyhound, a couple of cucumbers, and I had a little rummage around among the beans, and as you can see there aren't many, but I've managed to get maybe 2 handfuls, and there's enough for a meal. And these were from the beans that were damaged by the really heavy rain that we had a couple of weeks ago. They've grown back foliage and they're covered in beans. They're still quite small and skinny, the beans, but they will grow on over this next week. And these are off the climbing frame, and again the bean frames are covered with flowers, and you've a tendency naturally to look at them and think, oh well, they're in flower, it won't be long now. But actually, as soon as they're in flower, you can pretty much guarantee if you were going to have a little rummage around, there will be quite a few that are already lurking and hiding behind the foliage. So it's always worth looking. And then I've taken a bag of cut and come again lettuce, and that's taken from the middle greenhouse. You can see I've got one that's bursting, overflowing with lettuce leaf that'll last us the rest of this week into next weekend, and then there's another one that's growing on which will keep us going for the following couple of weeks. And I've got space to resow 2 or 3 more trays, and they'll come in 4 to 6 weeks time. Starting to dry out a little bit now. I busied myself as well in the stable. I've cut back the elephant garlic and stripped off the outer leaves, and I can see now what I've got, and I'll show you those now. And here we are in the barn, and as you can see it's a little bit darker in here, it's still overcast outside, and I've sorted the elephant garlic. It's not too bad. It would have been nice if they'd all been like this one, but they're not. And I've sorted them out, and I've got 6 or 7 at this side, and I'm going to keep those for the cloves to plant at the end of this season, maybe October time. And the ones on the right, they're the ones that we're going to eat. So I think there were only 1 or 2 that, like this one, I think, that had not really formed cloves, had not divided, but then some had completely divided and separated. So that may have been down to the variable fertility of the soil, I don't know, because it was in one of the smaller raised beds on the no-dig allotment, and it had manure at the bottom but rubbishy soil really on top in comparison with the bigger raised beds that were lasagna beds. So next year they might get put in one of the bigger beds, I don't know, we'll wait and see. But the beds may just improve as we add compost anyway, even the smaller ones. But these ones are really nice. The bigger ones, there's about 6 cloves in that one and about 4 or 5 in the other, so there should be enough. So that's the elephant garlic. I'm also starting to tidy up the second of the larger raised beds on the no-dig allotment. This is a brassica bed. We've taken 2 greyhound cabbage out and probably about a dozen or 15 kohlrabi, and you can see that the kohlrabi at the back that were sandwiched between the cabbage and the bigger kohlrabi at the front, they've not developed as well, and because we just had a canopy of foliage as well, and then some wet weather and hot weather, the slugs have gone mad and invaded the lettuce and had a nibble away at some of the kohlrabi as well. So I'm tidying this up now, and I've got 9 red flame red cabbage. I'm going to put some spent compost on top with a bit of fish blood and bone, and then I'm going to get this planted up with the red cabbage. And I might get maybe 3 rows in there. I toyed with the idea of taking out the kohlrabi that were there, but I might just let them grow on a little bit and see if they swell up. They probably will do. It'd be a waste to throw them away. So that's the job for this afternoon. I'm just about to go home for lunch now, and that's the rubbish that I've got to get rid of first. That'll go into the cold compost bin, and as I mentioned, the beans that were damaged by the wind, they're growing on okay, and you can see they're covered in little beans as well. But you can also see the little bean plants that are growing through from the bottom, so it's going to be interesting to see how they perform, because I stuck in lots of beans, probably, I don't know, maybe 100 or so. Once all the foliage had been ripped off by the rain, I just thought, well, I'll put some more beans in and at least the bed will, you know, be productive, because they'll come later in the year. But actually we've got beans on the original plants, and now we've got new beans growing through, so we'll have old beans dying back and new beans growing through. Well, we'll see how we do, but we should get a second cropping. So that's it now for this morning. As I say, I'm heading off for lunch. You can just see on the border there one of the squash developing. There are quite a few actually. They're all about tennis ball size or thereabouts. There are a couple that are like melons, but we'll look at those on another occasion. Catch you later. Hello again. It's still Saturday the 15th of July, and I've popped down after lunch and I've tidied up the bottom third of the raised bed that has the brassicas in it. I've removed the lettuce. That was the green lettuce, the Lolo Biondi. It had seen better days, it was time to go. It had really cropped well, but the slugs had got in there with the rain that we've had in recent weeks, and left a bit of a mess, so I didn't really want to eat the remnants, and I've got enough in trays in the greenhouse. So the lettuce came out, and I also removed a couple of rows of kohlrabi. Now, for the most part, the kohlrabi were large, they were tennis ball size, but there were a couple that were tiny. But I removed them just to make way for the cabbage that we're looking at now. And all I've done is I've removed the lettuce and kohlrabi, just levelled off the soil with my hand. I've not dug it. I've removed any weeds that were there, and at the same time I've pulled the netting back, and as you can see in the bucket there, I've removed dead and dying back leaves from higher up the bed. I gave the ground a sprinkling of 6x organic fertiliser. It probably didn't need it, to be fair, because it's only had lettuce and kohlrabi on, and they're not massive plants, so I would imagine that the ground was still quite fertile, but for good measure I've sprinkled that over anyway. And then I've taken a 35 litre pot of spent compost from one of the potatoes that I did a reveal on the other day, and I've covered it with about 2 inch of compost. So it's the bed still undug, all the plants removed, bit of fertiliser, organic fertiliser, some spent compost, and then the plants have gone in. And all I'm going to do now, before I cover up, having watered it, you can see that it's been watered. All I'm going to do now is just sprinkle over some certified organic slug pellets, and this is the one that I use. It's called Slug Go or Sluggo from Neudorf, and it's quite expensive because it's a kilogram box, and I think this was about £9, which it is expensive. If you go to car boats you can get it really cheap, slug pellets, but you don't know what you're getting. For the commercial growers, you can now get more environmentally friendly slug pellets that are still not organic, but they're better. The chemical content's lower, but the stuff you see on the car boat sales, you know, it's rough and ready stuff, I think. So I pushed the boat out and I got 2 kilos, 2 boxes like this, and you don't have to put a great deal on actually. If you work out the weight, it's about 40 pellets per square yard or something like that. I might put a little bit more than that on, and I'll put some around the other plants while I've got the netting off as well. But it should last quite a while. As I say, use less and use better quality slug pellets. I think that's the key. I don't use any chemicals on the plots. I do spray a bit of Roundup on the periphery, top and bottom, because I get mare's tail and a lot of nettles coming through from the paddock at the back and from the lane. But that's it, not on the plot. So I'll get that done now, and then we'll move on and we'll do something else. I'll probably be taking some red currants and white currants off this afternoon, black currants as well, and tomorrow, Sunday, is when I'm going to take off the red gooseberries. So I'll get on with this and I'll catch you later. Cheers. Hi, welcome back. We're deep in the tropical undergrowth this afternoon, in the bottom left corner of the 4 plots. This is the fruit allotment, but we did retain an area at the bottom of the long slim plot for growing veg. And this year we've got the sweetcorn in it. Last year we had that tremendous crop of Picasso potatoes. We had about £115 from 1 packet of seed potatoes, about 30 seed potatoes. This year we were really good with the germination, did really well with the sweetcorn. I think we've got about 65 or so here, and it's already 5 foot tall, got its tassels, and there are sweetcorn forming, believe it or not. Looks really healthy. I've just been weeding, and I've got a bucket full of weeds down there. If you look up the plot, it's a slim plot, this one. It's about 70 foot long and 18 foot wide. You can see the beans there. There are plum trees at the other side of the bean frame, and then the strawberries under the blue cover, and then the carrot bed and the apples. Beyond the apples is another half plot, and it did actually used to belong to this one, but at some point it must have been given over to the neighbour at the side. Well, that neighbour's now left, and I had the foresight to put my name back on the list just in case it came up, and I've agreed with the new neighbour next door to take that half back on. So we've now got 5 plots. They're designated as 5, but it's actually in surface area, it's 4 full plots. So this plot now, I'll show you the extension in a while, but this plot now is about 130 foot long and about 18 feet wide, and it's my intention to put another greenhouse on that plot. It's the one I showed you in an update last summer. It's 16 foot by 8 foot. I collected it from Bury near Manchester, and I plan to put a permanent asparagus bed up there, some bocking 14, comfrey, possibly some more flowers and a few other bits and bobs as well, maybe a few fruit trees, but that's the coming winter's project, to sort that out. But looking back at the sweetcorn, it looks really good with its tassels looking up to the sunflowers. Just thought I'd show you, and a break for me as well from the weeding. But, you know, big hopes for the sweetcorn this year. Time will tell. Catch you later. Hi everyone. Well, it's time to pick some currants, and I've ventured into the fruit cage for the first time in about 3 months, I think, and it's like a jungle. Most of the plants in here are quite young, and the growth's been vigorous this year. It's very green, but there's not a great deal of fruit on them. There are some fruits that I've noticed that are super big. I've never seen red currants this big before. Look at those, the side of my hand, they're amazing. So I'm going to have to go through the bushes quite carefully. There's some down here as well. I think they're hiding on the lower branches. But the weather's about to change as well, so I need to be quite quick. You can see the white currants there. They're a lovely pearly pink, and the red currants, that particular plant, I think there might be two plants there, they're ladened. I thought about going in a little bit earlier, but they are all very ripe now, really deep red, so there's no time like the present, so I'm going to get on with that. So I'll show you the red currants and the white currants when I've picked them, see how many we've got. Okay, catch you in a minute. Well, I just had to show you this. I've just gone down to the base of the plant just to see, you know, what's ahead of me, how much I've got to pick. I've just started my second punnet, and look at how many currants there are. The picture may go out of shot, it might blur a little bit because we've got leaves in the foreground, but wherever you look there are big bunches of really ripe, deep red currants, and the big bunches as well. This is just one plant, so I don't know how many punnets I'm going to get, but I suspect probably about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 just off this one plant. So I best get on with it and I'll show you when I'm done. Well, that's one plant picked, and I said 5 and it's exactly 5. I think I'm going to need another basket. That's the first out of 12 plants. Granted that the others haven't got as many on, but some of them have got really big currants on. And I've got white currants and black currants too, and gooseberries. So my wife's not going to be very happy because she was planning to make some currant jelly tonight, but there may be a shortage of jars. But you can't complain. That's the first red currant bush picked for 2017, and I best get on with the rest. I'll get some more empty punnets and we'll get filling. Oh dear, I think I'm going to be in trouble this evening with the jam maker. What do you think? And there's probably a few more punnets left on, but considering that each punnet probably weighs about 1.5 to 2 pounds and there's 13 there, that probably represents about 40 jars of jam and jelly. So I think I better leave it there for this evening. Catch you later. Sunday the 16th of July, and that's the gooseberries picked off about half a dozen plants. Hi everyone, and welcome back. It's Tuesday evening, the 18th of July. This will probably be the last clip to go onto this upload. I've just popped down after tea just to check that everything's alright into water, and as I walked into the no-dig plot I saw a rabbit sat in the middle of my bean patch. Not the ones that we're looking at, I'll turn around and show you in a minute. These are the beans that were damaged by the really heavy rain that we had. It really thrashed them and removed all the foliage. There was nothing left, they were just stalks with flowers. But they've done really well, and I've just taken my second punnet. These are the Purple Queen dwarf beans, French beans, and the first punnet was only half that size, and there were enough for 3 of us a meal, but we didn't have very many, so there's a good solid meal there for 3 of us. And the plants are completely covered, and you can see the beans because there's not that much foliage. Lots of small ones and middle-sized ones, but I would imagine we'll get several kilos off these because they do get quite big. They all grow to that sort of size or bigger. There's a big one there, and they still taste nice when they're like that. I've been taking them off sort of a bit smaller, the sweeter and juicy like at that size. I've also got, you can see, younger plants growing through, and they're the ones that are stuck in. I must have put in about, I don't know, the best part of 100 beans because I was concerned that, you know, that we wouldn't get any beans off the first lot. But they've, as I say, they've bounced back, grown new foliage, and by the time these beans have done, hopefully, the second batch that I put in, they'll be growing on and producing flowers, so we should have a second wave of beans. The first batch were Purple Queen, the second one is Stanley, which is a green dwarf French bean. but they tasted really, really nice the other night, and really happy with it. But as I say, the glass is half full. These were the beans that I sowed in the bed that had the garlic in, and I just covered them up hastily with a bit of netting, but obviously I've not put any hoops in. And all the rabbit's done is it's just come in, walked on it, trampled down the netting and just eaten off all the tops of the beans. And I would say, looking at that it's probably nibbled away maybe a third of the beans, quarter maybe, but hopefully they'll continue to grow. But I need to do something about that. I need to lift the net off the ground, just as a provisional thing. I've not got the time this evening to be messing about with hoops, but yeah, so rabbits, what to do about them? We're not allowed to shoot them, we're not allowed to snare them, and the key really is to cover everything up, and we have covered everything up, as I say, but obviously on this occasion here not as well as I might have done. I covered them just thinking, well, I don't want the pigeons or the rabbits to come, but they've poked through the net, and the rabbits just come and jumped on, helped him or herself. But as we've seen from this first batch, they're pretty resilient, the beans, and they do grow on and produce more foliage. So the other beans that I've got here, on the second plot you can see I've got a big broad drill in the middle, and I've sown another 2 drills, but they are properly covered and weighted down with bricks. You can see them coming through here at the side, there, and the same inside that cloche. I don't know whether you can see them, but we should have 3 nice big meaty drills like the one in the middle, and the others will come and be ready probably mid-September, I would think, mid to late September. And the bean frame in front as well, this is a second one, they're well on the way, but I dare say the rabbit's been taking a few of those as well, a few tips. But we should be enough there. That's the beauty about buying your beans in bulk and sowing thousands of the things. Even if you lose a quarter, you've still got enough. So that's it. It's been a hot day today. It was really hot yesterday as well. Too hot to do anything. But everything seems to be flourishing. So on that note, we'll call it a day. I wish you all the best and hope to see you again soon. Take care.